All right, there we go. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my video and start sharing my screen. Okay, what we see now is just my plain eThuto test page. First thing I'm going to show you is the retention center. So what we do is once you are in your page, you just scroll down to your course management section. And under this section, you have course tools. So we expand that. I'm sorry, not course tools. What am I doing? Evaluation, expand evaluation. And then you'll see retention center third down from the list. Now, what the retention center does is it monitors students based on rules you create. Now, if you go into your retention center the first time, it will have default rules, and you already see things like students at risk and what alerts alerted that risk to be viewed. So it has a default setting, but now I'm going to show you how to customize that setting to to monitor the students based on your rules. Okay, so let's have a look first at the customization here at the top. And we have 4 rules that we can set up. So it's activity rule. So when it shows the activity based on the other students' activity. So you can quickly see if a student is not as active in the group as the other students. And you can change this rule. The next one is course access rule. So this is measured by days. So how long ago was the last time the student logged into this course? Third one we have is marks. So you can set it up to measure by average if the student is not performing as well as the other students, or you can set it up as a specific percentage. So if a student drops below a specific percentage, they are flagged as at risk. The final one is missed deadlines. So this works together with your due dates. So if there was an assignment or a test that had a due date and the student missed it, you can set that up to flag the student. All right, let's have a look at the first one, default activity rules. Now you'll see that mine are already modified because I've done this before, but yours probably won't have this next to it. So you can just set it up in your own way. So we just go to the menu for it and then say edit. And you can give it a new name. So if you don't want to call it default activity rule, we can call it whatever. I'm just going to call it activity for now. And as a course activity rule type, you can include this in the risk table or not. So if this isn't something you care about, you don't want to have activity as a risk measurement, you could just check no and submit, and this one will be removed from your risk table. So that is also an option. Okay, so we now have to define the criteria. So the user activity in how long and how low, in other words. So we want to say, for instance, I want to know in the last 2 weeks if the student went, 50% below the average of the other students. You can set this up by days or months. So if you want to be more specific, you can say days. I'm just going to set it up as weeks. Let's do months because this page isn't very active. And however many percentages you want to know below the average. You can also do above the average if you want to also monitor students who are doing well. All right, and then you just say submit, and now your rule has been created. Let's go to the next one, the course access rule, and we're going to edit. Again, you have the option to rename it. I'm just going to call it course access rule. And again, you can include it in the table or not. So if this is, again, not something that you want to monitor, then you just say no and submit. And then how many days since the student has last accessed your course. So I'm going to just say 5 days, or depending on your practice and what you need to know, you just set up how many days you want to know. So if the student hasn't logged into the subject for more than 5 days, it will flag the student as at risk in your risk table. And submit. And then we just keep going through them like this. Name it. Again, include in the risk table or not. Now we can monitor the final mark. and that is your total in your grade center, or we can monitor a specific item in the grade center. So if you have a test, you just select that test from the grade center columns there in the list, and you can say that if that student for that test scores a mark value below 50%, or you can use average marks. In other words, you can say the student is below the average mark by more than 10%. Although I prefer to know, this, I prefer to set it up like this because, this is a pass fail. So every student who's failing a specific item, you can quickly see those students and maybe reach out to them or contact them in any way, or, so you at least know where you're set, and then submit. And then we have the missed deadline. So if you have any tests or assignments and you quickly want to see who's missed the deadline, they need to have a due date for this to work. The due date connects to as the deadline. And you can say monitor all course deadlines, or you can specifically say, I want to manage this assignment. That assignment had a due date. That's still upcoming. That's the only one I have. You might have more than them. And if the deadline is missed by more than 2 days, for instance. So if a student hasn't handed in the assignment, you can also do by 0 days. In other words, if the deadline is missed at all, or maybe just 1 day, and then it will flag the student. Now, before I move on to what it actually means for a student to get flagged, let me quickly show you this. You can add more rules. So you don't need to necessarily only follow the students who are doing poorly. You can, for instance, create a rule for, let's say, mark rule. And we'll call this, or let's call this Excel. So you can have a look at your students who excel, for instance, at a specific thing. So we can say we want to monitor that same test, but I want to know if the student is above 75%. So I want to see the students who are doing well, who are, having distinctions for this test or the whole subject or whatever. So you don't need to necessarily have only the 4 rules. You can have as many as you like, and they can measure different things. So you can measure your students doing poorly. You can measure your students doing well. You can measure your students who are just under and just might need a little bump or an extra credit or anything like that. So you can create as many of these as you want. You can set them so that they do not fall into. So if I, for instance, don't want to have this rule, I just check it and I say exclude from risk table. It'll change to no, and now it won't show on my risk table anymore. You can also delete them, and you can really play around with these as much as you want. All right, once you've done and you set up your rules and you're happy, we go back to the retention center. And this is what I'm talking about. If we have, see, this one is now no rules, so it's gone out. And this is what I was talking about, flag. So here students are flagged. Now, because this is not a subject that I actually use for students, I've got some of my colleagues enrolled as students and some of my other profiles just to have something here, but you'll have a longer list than this. But when a student gets flagged, they get that little red dot on the alert. So I've got access alerts for all 4 students. To be able to see that, I just click on it, and it will show me that this student hasn't accessed this page in the last 16 days. So this is worrisome. My rule said to flag as soon as it's 5 days and more, the student has not accessed it. So now I've got the option to monitor a student. If I monitor a student, they will come up here on the side. And this gives you a quick breakdown for that specific student. Haven't been in 16 days. They are at least 22% above average, so that's good. They don't have a mark and they have 0 missed deadlines. And if I want to take that student off the monitor list, I just check and I say monitor, click it, and go back to my retention center, and the student is removed. Now, when you're on the student's profile, you'll get a quick, just a broad look at their activity and their alerts. So the student hasn't been on for a while, 73% below the average, definitely an at-risk student. We can monitor them, we can notify them, and you can notify the student by emailing them. So this email is then sent out to that specific student. You can add some extra recipients if you have teaching assistants or anything. And then you can type in the box your, by default, it says your activity and performance level have triggered an alert. Please contact your instructor. You can change this to hi, or, what's up. you're not doing so well, please contact me. We need to talk about your marks, etc., etc. Okay, so that's a quick way of contacting them. The problem with this is, though, is that email, if the student has not changed their email to an email they read regularly, that email is just going to end up in their @stud @cut.ac.za inbox, and very few students actually read that. But if they do change their emails, then that is helpful, and you can send them a personal message. You can also add a note. So if you want to just add a note saying that I've notified the student on this day, just to keep for your own reports and archives and things, just to keep track of when you've contacted students or what kind of resolutions you've put in place to help the student or anything. You have that little add a note box here. Then below we have a little bit of a summation. So you can see the course activity here. So all of your assignments and tests and discussions will pop up here. On this side, you will have your communication things like the announcements that you've sent out and all of these things. So these are little quick access. You can quickly go and have a look at the assignment. No assignments here to mark for that one. Or you can quickly go and have a look at the discussion boards to see if students are being active in the discussions and things like that. So these are all just little quick links to certain things, just a kind of broad overview of the activity on your course. And here you can see that one student has been triggered, and you can go and have a look. Again, notify the students from here. So that is your retention dashboard. It's pretty simple to use, but it's a very, very powerful tool, especially for those of you who have very large groups. And I mean, it's impossible for you with very large groups to keep track of them all. This way, if you tell the system what to look out for, you can quickly see when students are in trouble or if they're doing well, and you can quickly communicate with them through the grades, through the retention center. All right, so that is the retention center. Do we have any questions or comments regarding the retention center? Do you guys think this will work for you? You can put it in the chats, or you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Leandre.
Hi.
Yes, yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Monitoring a student. I mean, everybody's hiding behind, I don't have data, I can't do this, I couldn't do that. So here's a nice platform to monitor what they are really doing. So yes, I think it's very good for us to be able to monitor our students. Yeah,
this is a quick way for you to just keep track of your students. If your students do pull the I didn't have data case, remember last week when we spoke about the course reports, here you can actually prove when the student was active on which days. And you can see things like that as well. So in combination with that, you really can get all the paperwork in order that you need when that student comes back and says, but it was a case of data, or I couldn't access, or I couldn't do this. So this really helps you with reporting and things like that. Also, I really like the monitor phase. So if I have students that are at risk, I quickly put them all here on the monitoring. And then next week when I come in, they are, at the top, and I can quickly see, all right, if they have been improving, if they have been taking my advice, if they have been, working as I asked them to. All right, I've got a couple of questions in the chat. Can lecturers also see the activity by a dashboard? We can see student activity in the performance dashboard, Lorraine, here. But it's not really, we can see review statuses, if they what adaptive release things, they can see discussion, and then here is your customized retention center. So if you go to your performance dashboard and you have set up your retention center, here is a quick look at it. So you can see that these students have triggered one of 4 rules. And then if you click on that, it'll take you back to that student's problem, to that student's dashboard. So unfortunately, the performance dashboard doesn't include assignments and tests, separately, but they do have a view marks heading. So if you want to see for a student quickly their marks, you can just click on that and it'll take you to that student in the grade center, and you can quickly have a look at their marks. So that is the best we have for a dashboard. We don't have anything that shows the marks for the students as it would look on their side.
Leandre, what I also want to know, can lecturers check their own activity, because we must give a report what was our activity on eThuto for our performance management or performance evaluation.
That, unfortunately, we can't do. I mean, we can do it. You can't do it yourselves. Unfortunately, you get excluded from the report. So I can't, if I go to a report and I want to see, for instance, activity, just as an example, I can't run the report. I'm not here. So my username that I'm using now, it looks like it is, but it's not. Wait, there we go. Let's have a look. Just want to see if I can run one on myself. I don't think so. However, Yuan has access to the Blackboard data panel, which includes everything. I mean, that is the more, comprehensive thing. So that literally shows you can draw a report on a lecturer that shows exactly the time they have spent. I just want to have a look here. I'm just, I might have to correct myself. See, but this one doesn't show time. Yeah, no, I don't think these reports will work for what you need. And I think I'm just thinking of another user here, but I'm pretty sure you can't do it on the lecture. But Yuan does have access. So you can just send him a request and tell him, for this time period, I need to know my activity. He has access to that system where you can draw the very full comprehensive report that shows all the logins, the timestamps and everything. And you just give him an idea of what you need and he'll filter it until he gets so it's like a big Excel sheet where it shows everything that you've done in the time period on Blackboard. Right, next question we have is, can the system notify us of at-risk students even if their results are not published? Nicole, I think you mean that if you are hiding their results, is that what you mean? So in other words, if they have an assignment or something and you have hidden it from students so it's not published to them, if that is your question, then yes, it will still notify you as the instructor of the at-risk students. Remember, they don't see this. They can't access the retention center. Anything under course management is instructor only. So anything that you create here is supersedes any rules you might have in the grade center or anything that is hidden from students. It's for your eyes only. So you will be able to see it. I think that's what you were asking. Just let me know if I missed it. Jordu is asking, please explain again, how does the course report indicate if a student had data? It cannot indicate that, unfortunately. I mean, if a student had data or not. All it can indicate is if a student says they were struggling to write a test or they weren't able to log in, we can actually show that they did log in. You can see login hits, it's called hits, clicks or whatever, on each of the content areas. So unfortunately, we can't prove that the student did not have data. That is a problem, but we can see if they are lying and they were in fact on it. Otherwise, just check their Facebook, because that'll quickly show you whether or not they have data. I see them, live streaming themselves in the corridors, and then I walk past them and I think, yeah, this is the same student that said they didn't have data, but now they're doing a live stream of the day in the life of. So yeah, no, unfortunately, we can't prove that data or not. All right, any more questions, or should we move on to the SafeAssign originality reports? All right, looks like everyone is good to go, but we can always come back to that if you start thinking of questions afterwards. All right, I'm going to go back into my subject. I don't often do training on this because it's difficult to find, because I can't show students reports, that would be very unethical. So what I did today is I just took a bunch of my own articles and threw them into SafeAssign. Hopefully I won't be embarrassed by the amount of plagiarism it shows, but let me show you how the SafeAssign originality report works. All right, two ways of doing this. You can do it in an assignment, which means that the students upload their project and it's put through SafeAssign and it shows the report in the needs grading center. So I'm quickly going to show you that. I'm not going to go too much into depth into assignments. I think most of you know how to create them. But you know that if we go and just want to put in the required fields, if we go to submission details, just under the amount, we have check plagiarism with SafeAssign. Now we have SafeAssign for all our undergrad students. That's why we built it into Blackboard. We do have access to turn it in for postgrad students, however. So if you have postgrad students like dissertations or theses, you can contact Johan Badenhorst for an account with Turnitin. But we use SafeAssign for undergrads because really at that stage, it doesn't need to be that specific. SafeAssign we just found wasn't as accurate as Turnitin. However, it does catch students getting information from old students' papers because we have our own database and SafeAssign draws from that. But we found that when you put a SafeAssign report next to a Turnitin report, Turnitin sometimes catches more. That's why we have it for the postgrads. Unfortunately, we can't afford it for the whole campus at the moment, but maybe one day. But for undergrads, we find that SafeAssign really is enough because that's when they're still learning and you just need to show them how it works. All right, so in an assignment, you would say check submissions for plagiarism, and that would activate that. You can allow your students to view it. So if this is something that students have multiple attempts and you might want them to be able to fix any problems that they found and then re-upload, then you have to allow them to view the SafeAssign report so that they can see where the problem areas are. If they are going to upload multiple times, we definitely want to exclude that submissions from the databases. This means that the second attempt and the third attempt won't compare to itself. But don't worry, I'm going to show you now in the reports, you can fix it if you forgot to do that and you come back with 100%, so it's not the end of the world. But it is best to do it. And then if you want, you can have them submit the final one without having that box checked. And then it will be stored on the CUT database so that next year when the new generation comes, it will compare against this one so that we know that we update the database regularly. All right, so that's how we do that. The second way to do a SafeAssign check is you can do it manually. And to do this, you just go down and you can do this from any course. It doesn't matter. All your SafeAssign objects will be in the same place, even if you do it today from this course and tomorrow from that course. Expand your course tools. And then you'll see SafeAssign here under the S's. Click on that. And then we have SafeAssign items, and this will show all of your SafeAssign items that were done through assignments. So I've got 2 assignments here. I don't actually have submissions because it's just a test page, but you would be able to see all of them here if I had any. Let me just go back. The other thing is direct submit. So this is how you can submit directly to SafeAssign, and this is your panel with all of your direct submitted works. And you can see them here all in order from date submitted. And what you do is you have the file, sorry, the original file here that you can download. You can see the matched point. Now remember, SafeAssign only checks originality. It matches between other documents the signature. And what the signature is the system is taught to look for patterns within sentences. And that's why we always say it does not detect plagiarism because it's not a person. It cannot actually say that this pattern is plagiarism. You have to go and have a look at yourself. So what we recommend is using the percentages. Now, management has said 20% for now is a good percentage, but I really feel like you have to think about it regarding the length of the paper as well. I mean, 30% in a paper that is 10 pages long is a lot more than 30% in a paper that is 100 pages long. So you have to kind of think around, for yourself, the length of your paper, how strict it is and things like that. So when you have to go and have a look at the report, it's just here, but I'm not going to check this one. This is a student's one. And you can see here if you did check that draft box. In other words, if it was a draft. Now, if you want to submit a new paper, directly submit, so not through an assignment, you just go to submit paper. And you submit this draft. That's the same as checking that exclude box. So in other words, it's not going to compare to itself later on. And you can skip the plagiarism checking. So I'm not sure why you're able to check both these boxes because they kind of work, vice versa. The idea here is if you just want to submit a paper to go onto the database so that you just know that it is there for future, then you skip the plagiarism check. You just upload the file so that it is added to. So I'm not entirely sure why they make it so that you can check both boxes. It kind of doesn't make any sense to me. Then you can upload the file from your computer, or you can copy and paste the document in here as text, which I don't think anybody ever does. There are the accepted file formats. So you can have a look at those. We normally just stick to docx, which is Word or PDF. Those ones work best. You must have a look sometimes if you get a 0% back for a student, that can often be suspicious in itself. If you ever get back 0%, just go and have a look at your original document. Students sometimes, what they do is they turn it into images and then into PDF. So in other words, the system is actually looking at images, not text. So have a look at something like that. Other times they will have the worst one I've seen. And I thought to myself, you know, this student went through so much trouble to try and obfuscate their cheating. They actually put enough time into just have done the assignment properly. What they did was they added letters. I think they just added A's in between. So let me open a Word and show you. All right, let me not scribble on this. This is my paper. So what they would do is they would paste in the documents, you know, so let's see what I've got here. Now I've got an image. They would paste in from the web, the words, and then they would add in words in here. So they would add A's, and then they would go and tell the system to turn all the A's to white. So this is what you see. But remember, the system sees an illegible word, a word that does not make sense to them, so they cannot detect plagiarism. So it's crazy that the amount of, you know, time students will put into cheating and stuff. So when you get a 0%, that is almost more suspicious than getting a higher percent. So always go back to the document whenever you have anything strange going on. No, I don't want to save. All righty. Now, I'm not going to submit something now. That is pretty straightforward. Now, something that annoys me and that Turnitin doesn't do it, you can order them in different orders and you can't do it here. That's quite annoying. So I have to go to the end now to show you the ones I uploaded this morning. All right, let's have a look. Okay, they start here. Okay, now I can see like this is really worrisome. I've got something here with 100%. You know, this is probably going to be just this paper was uploaded somewhere else. So what I've done is I've actually uploaded some papers that I've already published. So it's kind of strange that these shouldn't all be 100% because it means that the journals where I publish them isn't in our database. So that is quite worrisome, but this one seems to be. So I can either look at the paper itself or I can go to the report by clicking on the little SA report there, and it'll open up a new tab to the Originality report. And we can see that 99% of this paper obviously comes from one source, and that's because it's been uploaded somewhere. So this journal where I submitted this paper obviously uses a database that we have access to. And then if this happens, and this is what I was saying, if you accidentally did not exclude the submissions from the database, it's not a hard fix. You go to that, you have a look at it, and you can see that it's actually saying this is my paper. So if the student, it wouldn't say I have my paper, but you can exclude it. So we dismiss the match, and you can see now that the source has 1%. Right, so if you ever have that where you accidentally forgot to exclude and students upload more than once, and then the second paper obviously, you know, compares to the first one, and you have these 100%, that's the quick fix. Now we go through the rest. We go and have a look at, we've got some global database hits. We've got 2 here. Let's just have a look at them. They are 2 from student papers, and they are labeled number 5 and number 4. And they have pink and less pink. I don't know why they put these colors so close together. It doesn't really make sense. I'm going to go down until I've got the highlights. There's the number 2s. I want to see the number 5s and 4s. Okay, so 4s. So you can see it just matched up some lettering. I'm not sure why this is. I think it's the headings that it's highlighted. And this is something that you'll very often see because we all keep using the same headings. We all keep using, you know, the same kind of words together because we're in academia, and you'll find it more and more in your own discipline. There are certain words and phrases that we use together. It's not plagiarism, it's just, you know, proper research. So if you have something like this, I think it's marking there, you just click on it, you can see where it's from. So somebody else typed in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which I can't for the life of me now realize why, but that's why it was flagged. So obviously we're going to dismiss this one. This isn't a real match. Let's have a look at some of the others that are highlighted in the pink. there we go. This is from the bibliography. So obviously this also is not a real plagiarism. Same here, we're going to dismiss them. And so we can work through the paper. Now, I know you don't have the time to work through papers and go and dismiss sources until you have an idea. What I'm saying is you can quickly just go through them, see, oh no, everything it's caught were just headings and bibliography and some words and phrases that were, you know, something that we use a lot, quite often. Let's have a look at this internet one. It's from Springer Open, so this might be more promising. Let's have a look. I'm going to open the source. All right, so this is the source. Let me just accept my cookies. And now you can have a look at the source where it's from. This only works for internet sources. Unfortunately, to protect students' privacy, we don't make our databases open for this, but you can check it with internet sources. It'll have that where you can have a look. So you can go and have a look now at the original source, compare it to your students' work and so on. I just want to see where is the number 2. Again, the number 2s is just headings. You know, it's just we use the same key phrases in our disciplines, so it really isn't plagiarism at all. Okay. Global database, we already checked out. I think those were the 5s and 4s. Institutional database, that is the big number 1 that we had. We excluded it. You can re-include it if you think you made a mistake by just clicking that again. We can go and have a look at the source. I think it's available. Okay, so this one has been on SafeAssign before. That's why we can find it here. And then, yeah, so if you want to print this out for your student, just go to the summary. Oh, no, summary just shows you that this is a high risk one because it had 100%. Just a quick summary. Where's the print? Oh, here we go. You can print it out here, and that creates a PDF that you can download. It shows it like this, and then at the end of the report, it will have all of those numbers. There we go. And it will show you exactly where the paper, the original source comes from, and your paper comes from, what you put in the number 1s, etc., etc. And it'll show you all of those and their matches. Remember, your large number is just an average of all of these. You can go and have a look at them side by side to see if there's anything that you need to worry about. All right, so I'm going to go and have a look at some others. Exit this. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Here we've got one that's a bit shorter, I think, if I remember correctly. Okay, and oops, no, I just made it go to the old design. For some reason now I've misplaced my panel. Why did I do that? Nope, that's not going to do it. That's just going to print it. What have I done? Let's go. Oh, sorry, I opened the paper. I'm sorry, it's Friday, guys. Please forgive me. I opened the paper itself instead of the report. Oi, here we go. I was really confused now. Okay, there we go. Here we've got the report, we've got our 4%, we can go and have a look at the, so what I'm suggesting is not that you go through all of these and exclude these, because here, Central University of Technology, Free State, in that order, in that way, has probably been mentioned a million times because we all have to include it in everything. And we can have a look at some of these. So this one might be worrisome. I don't know why they didn't pick up on that. And you can go and have a look at all of these and just make a decision for yourself. But the key thing is to, if you have students upload, you can have them exclude all of this. Maybe just upload from the abstract and exclude the bibliography and use that as the SafeAssign report. Then it will exclude all of this, you know, that you have in the beginning and have everything in the bibliography that reaches the same thing. So that might be a good idea. And then you have them hand in the document later as a final where it includes the headings and these things like that. All right, so some other things that I can show you. I've showed you how to exclude sources, how to go and have a look at them. Top sources will be if it's a paper that has been cited a lot, you can have a look at those. But mostly we find that most of our students will have internet sources. They mainly use internet sources if they plagiarize. So you'll probably have one here that is internet sources. Right, that is basically what I wanted to show you. Here you can download, if you want to download the original paper. I think I've said that there, you can watch. Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop here and open up for questions. It's almost 10 past already, so I want to have a lot of time for questions and answers and discussions. Let's go to the chat box. I just quickly want to see, I saw out of the corner of my eye something happened here. Billy is asking, declaration of bibliography increase percentages of originality support, and students struggle to reduce the percentage until a later submission. Yes, very good point, Billy. And that is why I say, I don't really like the idea of putting a percentage on it. Management has now said that they want to put a percentage on it, and they've decided on kind of like 20, which I feel can be a lot of plagiarism. It can go on in 20%, and very little can go on in 20%. I mean, I've seen papers come back with 50%, you know, and that's just because they had a really long bibliography and so on. So really don't get hung up on the percentages. You as the instructor, as the lecturer, have to go and look at the reports, you know, and go and have a look. And like I said, you don't have to go and exclude and work with it. You just give it a quick gander, you know, look at the highlights and see, yep, no, these are all just, you know, accidental, incidentals, whatever the case may be, and they are not counting, and you go on and you mark your student. You know, try and make the workflow for you as easy as possible, but we cannot ask a system that is built with algorithms to determine plagiarism. It doesn't have the capacity to do that. It can only show us that this paper has so much percentage in common with this paper. It's all it can do. It cannot determine plagiarism in any way, shape, or form. So you have to go and have a little think about how you want to set up your assignments. Like I said, maybe adding a special SafeAssign portal where they only go and do for the SafeAssign, where they exclude their headings and their, you know, the front pages with the declaration and the bibliography and all that. And then they measure there so that you have a quick view of what it is, and then upload the full later on. That might be the best way. Or, you know, you just go and have a quick look at some of those that have high percentages and decide for yourself whether or not that is plagiarism. All right, any other questions from the floor? You can put them in the chats always. Remember, I have recorded this session, so if you want me to send you the recording, send me a little email or put in your chat box here if you want the recording. But I think everyone here, I have all of your email addresses, so I'll just send it to all the participants. Those of you who don't want it, you know, you can just skip it. So anyone have these stories regarding what you find students plagiarize, or when students weren't plagiarizing? Please share them or tell us about your experiences, or we can, you know, show something else. Is there anything else on eThuto that you were wondering about or were struggling with this week? I was just feeling good this week, thinking that we were on top of it, and then the students started again, and I thought, yep, that's life now. Anyone?
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
During the exam of last year or beginning of this year, students submitted their assignments through SafeAssign, or actually their world projects, and then the SafeAssign percentage was very low, but I could immediately see that it was a proposal that the student copied from somewhere else and submitted as a project. And then I asked Johan to test it, or Wynand to test it on Turnitin. And then that percentage was very much higher than the SafeAssign. So I don't know how reliable is the SafeAssign percentages.
That's why we're saying is, let me show you what a Turnitin looks like. That's what I was saying in the beginning. That's why we purchased Turnitin for the postgrads. We are desperately trying to get them to purchase it for whole campus so we can build Turnitin into Blackboard like SafeAssign is now. It's very expensive though, and we're getting a lot of, you know, kickbacks from it and so on. But no, it definitely is. Turnitin is much more accurate. That's why we use it strictly for the postgrads, for theses and dissertations. SafeAssign at this moment really is much more of, you know, kind of like scare tactic to tell them not to do it, but it does pick up, at least what it does really well is it picks up from within the institution. So a 2020 student paper was copied by a 2021 student paper. That it picks up really, really well. But with internet sources, it's not as accurate as Turnitin. That is why we are trying to purchase it for the whole campus. But like I say, you know, money is king. So we are trying. So if you ever have, like Lorraine, have an incident where you can see when marking the paper that clearly this is on the student's own work. You know what, we as the lecturers know our students by now, and we are probably the best tool for detecting plagiarism, because you quickly see that, you know, the student did not write this themselves. If you have a low SafeAssign percentages in such a case, just send to me or Wynand or Johan and ask us just to put it through Turnitin and have a look so we can compare. It is much more. So this is what Turnitin looks like. So if I don't have any of my own papers here now, unfortunately. I think I don't want to show anyone's. See if I've got something that someone wouldn't mind. All right, let's have a look. I know this lecturer, I'm sure she wouldn't mind. Her master's thesis was put through. So it's got a much more accurate report. It also shows, this is a bad one to do because it didn't really have any sources. We can filter on Turnitin as well. It shows the source directly in text, which is also great. And it's really much more accurate. So whenever you are in a meeting where they're talking about purchasing Turnitin, please put your voice in and say, yes, we want it, because it really is a much better resource. But until that time comes, like I said, if you have something that you suspect is actually plagiarized, but SafeAssign has not picked it up, we put it through the postgrad Turnitin, and that way we can have 2 documents and compare them and see if there's anything there. All right, any more questions or experiences? We still have 15 minutes, so if there's anything else you'd like me to show you, or any questions you'd like to ask me about plans or things. If you had enough for the day and you're ready to go and have your weekend, you're also, of course, welcome to leave the session. And I know you guys are very busy. Thank you all for coming. Very welcome for the day. We'll do this again next week.
Thanks, Leandre.
Welcome.
Thanks, Henry. Bye.
Welcome. Bye.